For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Orr here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's 39-36 victory over the Washington State Cougars. Now, it wasn't the prettiest win for USC, but as Clay Helton said, they'll take the win. It did a lot for their confidence and their psyche. And like players and coaches said after the game when we talked to them, it's good to be home.
You know, I think the difference between 2-2 or 1-3 and being 0-2 in the Pac-12, I think in some ways is a really pretty win. And they were so thrilled with it. I mean, every different group, like the seniors had one kind of relieved look on their faces, the coaches and their families. I mean, everybody understood how important it was to win this game. Losing this game changes the whole, direction of the season. So this was really, really, really important.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like offensively USC turned a corner. It seemed like that connection between JT Daniels and Tyler Vaughns finally got established, and it was a great night for both of them.
Yeah, and then Michael Pittman comes and makes the big play too. And they were talking about how preseason, because of the three quarterbacks, the veterans didn't get a chance. Michael Pittman and Tyler Vaughns didn't get a chance to really establish that chemistry with JT Daniels. And Amon-Ra was talking about it. He said, "Yeah," I said, "We got it." And it took a while for those guys. And that was a big talk after the game, was how much more comfortable all of them were. And JT can make some throws that are just stunning. I mean, he just throws the ball in places you just think he can't do it. And he had great support from Vilas, from Tyler Vaughns, from Michael Pittman, and Amon-Ra. I mean, it's just pretty amazing. Amon-Ra, this is how good he is. He looks on that touchdown, he looks up and he doesn't see the ball, and he doesn't think JT has thrown it to him because he's really covered and there's not much room. And he hears the crowd, and he said, "I hear the crowd scream," and I think, uh-oh, he did throw it. And he throws his head up, and like a split second before that ball comes down, now obviously the ball has to be thrown perfectly, but a split second before that ball comes down, Amon-Ra locates it, catches it, crosses the sideline, and catches a touchdown right before he goes across the sideline. But that's really hard to do. I mean, that's spectacular stuff from those two on that play. But to be able to realize the sound of the crowd tells you the ball's probably coming your way. Amazing. Yeah,
the adjustments that Amon-Ra makes is just incredible. And friendly reminder, he is a true freshman, same with JT Daniels, so a bright future for those two. But another theme we heard in post-game interviews today was practice, and how practice this week turned the page for USC. They said that they didn't want to come out and lose. JT Daniels, I think in his broadcast presser, said that they were pissed coming out here today. And I think that's what we saw out on the field.
Yeah, they had a team meeting, and you hear a lot of times at team meeting and talk about things like, intensity and urgency and, running every play out and just no loafs and all that. But we heard it from enough guys that they knew, the short week, I think, actually worked in their favor. Didn't get them in pads, and you do wonder about that. It's obvious they're not tackling enough in practice, so it's really hurting them in games. But for a lot of stuff, they kind of attacked on offense. They had an aggressive game plan, and they hung in there on defense. They just kept trying to make plays, and you get kids like freshman Talanoa Hufanga, playing center field back there and just getting there in time. So they had enough plays on defense, and not a great many, but just hung in there. And then they get the great special teams play by Jay Tufele, and they made the right call. And for all the criticism, John Baxter gets, he was telling them, it's going to be there, it's going to be there. That guard pulls up just a little bit. It wasn't a big technical thing. I think they call it the D move, but you asked Jay, what are you supposed to do? And he said, well, I'm supposed to run around the guard if he, when he leans up just a little bit, which we think he would do, which he did. I'm supposed to kind of run around him and swat him. SWAT is the language. And then, he got both hands on the ball, he said. He said that it was just the way it was supposed to work, and that's how it worked. So a lot of credit there. They believed in that play, and Cameron saw it. He also saw the guard move up, and they were very positive about that they were going to be able to pull off that field goal block at the end.
Yeah, apparently John Baxter told the team in meetings this week they were going to get a field goal block in the game, and so apparently Baxter was right about that. But as far as leading up to that play, what do you think about Mike Leach electing to kick the field goal there?
I was surprised. It almost looked like he put the brakes on, and we were down on the field, and you thought, wait a minute, he's not quite so aggressive here. It looks like he's setting up the field goal. And it almost looks like that's what he was doing. We didn't hear his press conference, so we don't know for sure that that's what he was thinking. Usually you don't play for a tie on the road. You don't think, an overtime is going to go your way. Are they thinking maybe Michael Brown is a, first-time field goal kicker, and maybe they would have the advantage if it got into overtime? I don't know. I was a little surprised. I thought they did almost everything perfectly as far as the game's concerned until they got to the end there. And it just looked like they didn't quite go as aggressively to try to score the ball at the end. That was a surprise.
Yeah. As we mentioned earlier in this video, Clay Helton said that this was a much-needed win, not only for the team, but for the Pac-12. It's not a perfect game. There's things that they definitely need to fix, but what does this do for this team going forward?
Yeah, 1-3 and going to Arizona next week would have been very, very difficult. Yeah. 2-2, chance to win the Pac-12 South, a sense of, we defended, home turf, and that was a big goal. You can tell with these kids, that streak at home really matters. So the ability to, be 2 scores down in the second half and get it together and walk out of here with a win. I mean, they were as happy and relieved and probably as ever in history for a USC team playing at home to hold off Washington State. I mean, whatever you think of it, and that was the most points, we understand, the most points Washington State in 73 games against USC. Tonight's 36 was the most they've ever scored, and they walk away a loser. So got to give USC credit for that part of it. Probably not so much for giving up 36 points.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what do you make of this defensive performance? Obviously, USC did not have Porter Gustin in the first half. They did get him back eligible in the second half. But what do you make from the defense and especially the secondary performance?
Well, I think part of the problem with the secondary was the pass rush just didn't, was non-existent. I just think they really got blocked by the Washington State offensive line, who they really do a good job on pass blocking. I mean, they throw the ball so much, but USC just couldn't get there. And no matter what they tried, I guess Marlon Tuipulotu got the one sack where he dove at Minshew, but man, they do a good job of protecting him. He does a good job of getting the ball out, but they needed a more energy on the pass rush, and he needed to figure out something. Every once in a while you would watch Washington State dial up a blitz, and they would get there in a hurry. Yeah. They didn't do it a lot, but USC didn't seem to be able to dial up that blitz where they could really get in Minshew's face. So that made it a very difficult night for the secondary against really good receivers and a veteran, graduate transfer quarterback who really knew where to put the ball. It was a long night for the USC secondary, but they battled. They just wasn't a night they're going to be tremendously thrilled with, but they'll take the win.
Yeah. As far as we know, USC came out of this game pretty healthy, no injuries reported or that we saw on the field. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up tonight?
2-2 is really good for this team. 1-1 in the Pac-12. This game was so unbelievably important. Yep. To be home, a nice 52,000 and some. They made a lot of noise. They were really involved here. I think everybody reacted positively to that. I think the USC fan should take some credit, even though there are times you'd like to have a bigger crowd and all that. But a Friday night game, coming off of 2 road losses and all that, I think it was very positive in a lot of ways. Had they not won this game, the negativity would have been just hard to overcome. Yeah. So this really, really, really mattered.
In that sense, I know the hot seat was asked a lot, the hot seat for USC's coaches. Where do you see their seats as far as temperature right now?
Well, I think you're always looking at trajectory, and the trajectory had been, a couple of weeks of just, heading down the wrong direction. They got it turned around a little bit. And so I think that's all you can ask for, is that you're moving it in the right direction. Now, they got another week coming up, and we'll see. They got an extra day to get ready for Arizona, going to the desert, but then they'll have a bye. So the Arizona game becomes really, they're in one of those situations. It's basically a playoff run now, where it's, 1 and out elimination. They can't afford 1 and out. So they've got to win every game. They got to get better on defense. That was not, the Stanford game. You think, wow, that's a winning effort on defense. This was not.
Yeah.
So it did win, but they got to get better on defense. But showed a lot of grit, showed a lot of, the ability to run the ball at times. They finished off the game with Brett Nealon in there as a blocking back, big number 99, and they sure liked the way that looked. And so I think they're figuring some things out, but each week you got to figure them out and get better.
Yeah.
And now we'll see.
We will see indeed. All right, that's going to wrap it up from the Coliseum. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Orr. For more, check out uscfootball.com.